The sight of her on our doorstep, mascara running down her face, hair dripping from the rain, nearly stops my heart. Sarah, my wife, who told me she was better off alone exactly 32 days ago, is on her knees in front of me, sobbing so hard she can barely speak. I was wrong, she chokes out. God, James, I was so wrong. My hand grips the doorframe, knuckles white. A month ago, I would have rushed to hold her. Now I'm frozen, watching raindrops mix with her tears, remembering how sure she sounded when she walked away. The irony of this moment isn't lost on me, her looking up at me from her knees, when 4 weeks ago she was standing tall in our kitchen, telling me she needed to find herself. But to understand how we got here, how my strong, independent wife ended up breaking down on our porch at 11:43 p.m. on a rainy Sunday, you need to know what happened that morning in our kitchen, and everything that came after. It started on a Friday morning that seemed painfully ordinary. You know those moments that change your life forever? They never come with warning signs. No ominous music playing in the background. No dark clouds gathering overhead. Just normal. Deceptively, cruelly normal. I was standing in our kitchen, halfway through my second cup of coffee, scrolling through emails on my phone. Sarah usually rushed out early on Fridays, some standing meeting with her team that she always complained about. But that morning, she took her time. Should have been my first clue, right? She walked into the kitchen wearing her charcoal pencil skirt and the cream blouse I'd given her for her birthday. Hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, on a Friday. Second clue, missed again. We need to talk, she said, setting her untouched coffee mug on the counter. Those words, they're always the prelude to something devastating, aren't they? But even then, I didn't get it, didn't want to get it. I remember looking up from my phone, smiling even. Everything okay? She didn't smile back. Instead, she squared her shoulders, like she was preparing for a business presentation. I've been thinking a lot lately. Her voice was steady, rehearsed. About us, about me. She paused, and I watched her fingers trace the rim of her coffee mug. I'm not happy, James. The kitchen suddenly felt too small, too warm. What do you mean? I mean, she took a deep breath. I think I'm better off alone. 5 words. 5 simple words that somehow managed to erase 8 years of marriage, 13 years together, and a lifetime of plans. I waited for more, for an explanation, for tears, for anything that would make this feel real, but she just stood there, composed and distant, like she was discussing the weather with a stranger. Is this? I cleared my throat, trying to find my voice. Is this about the promotion, the longer hours, because we can figure that out? It's not about work. She cut me off, gentle but firm. It's about me. I need to find myself again. I've lost who I am in this marriage, in trying to be what everyone expects me to be. I wanted to argue, to point out all the ways that didn't make sense. We had date nights every Wednesday, weekend brunches where we talked for hours, game nights with friends where she laughed so hard she snorted wine through her nose. How could she be lost when she was right here with me? But looking at her then, really looking, I saw something I'd missed. Behind the perfect makeup and practiced words, her eyes held a kind of desperate determination, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I'm staying with Claire for a while, she continued, referring to her sister. I've already packed some things. That's when I noticed the small suitcase by the door, black, compact, ready to roll her away from our life together. How long had it been sitting there while I sipped my coffee, oblivious? Sarah. Her name came out as a whisper, a plea. She shook her head, already stepping back. I need this, James. Please don't make it harder than it has to be. The morning sun streamed through our kitchen window, catching the diamond on her left hand, the one I'd placed there 8 years ago, with promises of forever. She followed my gaze, fingers reflexively touching the ring. For a moment, something flickered across her face, doubt, regret, but then it was gone, replaced by that same determined look. I'll call you when I'm settled, she said, reaching for her suitcase. And just like that, she walked out of our kitchen, out of our house, out of our life. The soft click of the front door closing echoed through the empty house like a gunshot. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere, scattered like breadcrumbs leading to that morning. But you know what they say about hindsight. It's the world's most useless superpower. It started 3 months before she left, when Sarah got that big promotion at work, senior marketing director. She'd been gunning for that position for 2 years, and when she got it, we celebrated like teenagers, champagne, dancing in the kitchen, the whole 9 yards. I remember thinking how beautiful she looked that night, cheeks flushed with success and wine, talking about all her plans for the department. The late nights started soon after. At first, it was just once or twice a week. Big presentation tomorrow, she'd text. Or, client emergency, don't wait up. I'd leave her dinner in the microwave, kiss her sleeping form when she finally crawled into bed past midnight. I told myself this was temporary, just her proving herself in the new role. Isn't that what supportive husbands do? Give their wives space to chase their dreams. But then the little things started changing too. Our Wednesday date nights, a tradition since we were dating, began getting rescheduled, then canceled altogether. Rain check became her most common text message. The last one we managed to have, about 6 weeks before she left, felt like dining with a stranger. She spent most of it checking emails on her phone, half listening to my stories about work. Everything okay? I asked that night, watching her push pasta around her plate. She looked up, startled, as if she'd forgotten I was there. Just tired, she said, offering a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Work's been crazy. The physical distance grew too. She started sleeping on her side of the bed, curled away from me. No more spontaneous hugs from behind while I made coffee. No more casual touches as we passed each other in the hallway. Even our morning goodbye kisses became quick pecks, then stopped altogether. One Sunday morning, about a month before she left, I found her sitting in our backyard at dawn, still in her pajamas, just staring at nothing. When I brought her coffee, she jumped like I'd caught her doing something wrong. Couldn't sleep, she mumbled, taking the mug without meeting my eyes. I should have sat down next to her, should have asked what was really wrong, should have told her I missed her, missed us. Instead, I just squeezed her shoulder and went back inside to make breakfast, telling myself she just needed space. The weekend before she left, we went to dinner with her sister Claire and Claire's husband. Everything seemed fine. Sarah was laughing, telling stories, holding my hand under the table. Later, Claire told me Sarah had broken down in the bathroom, but when she asked what was wrong, Sarah just shook her head and reapplied her makeup. She's been off lately, Claire said when she called me 2 days after Sarah left. I thought it was just stress from the new position, but... She paused. Last week she told me she feels like she's disappearing, like she's playing a role in someone else's life. I should have said something, James. I'm sorry. The hardest part, realizing that while I was busy being proud of her success, understanding of her absences, and respectful of her space, my wife was silently drowning, and I, in my infinite wisdom and patience, never even noticed she'd stopped swimming. The first week without her was a study in emptiness. You never realize how much space someone takes up until they're gone. Not just physical space, though God knows our house felt massive suddenly, but the space in your daily routine, in your thoughts, in every breath you take. I kept doing these pathetic little things, like making enough coffee for 2 every morning, setting her place at dinner, turning to tell her something funny, before remembering she wasn't there. The worst was catching her scent, on her pillow, in her closet, in that fancy shampoo she left in the shower. Each time it hit me like a punch to the gut. Claire called every few days with updates. She's working late again. Or, she seems quiet. I wanted to scream. Quiet. She's always been quiet. That's my Sarah, the one who processes everything internally before letting anyone in. Was letting anyone in. God, even my thoughts needed editing now. I threw myself into work, staying at the office until security did their final rounds. Started hitting the gym at 5 a.m., running until my legs shook and my lungs burned. Anything to exhaust myself enough to sleep without reaching for her side of the bed. Friends tried to help, in that awkward way people do when they don't know what to say. Mike kept inviting me over for guys and nights that felt more like suicide watches. Jenny, my sister, showed up with casseroles and concerned looks, asking if I'd thought about talking to someone, as if talking could fix the Sarah-shaped hole in my life. 2 weeks in, I broke down and called her, straight to voicemail. I'd rehearsed this whole speech about understanding and space and still being there when she was ready. Instead, I just said, I miss you, and hung up. She never called back. I started noticing things about our house, really noticing them. The living room walls were beige. When did we paint them beige? Sarah hates beige. The photos on our walls were all perfectly arranged, symmetrical, like a furniture catalog. But where were the messy, real moments? The candid shots of us laughing, making faces, being us. Our house looked like a show home, I realized, perfect and polished and completely devoid of personality, just like Sarah had become in those last few months, perfectly put together on the outside, empty on the inside. 3 weeks after she left, I found her journal while cleaning out the guest room closet. I know I shouldn't have read it, but hell, maybe I needed to understand. The last entry was from 2 days before she left. Sometimes I look in the mirror and don't recognize myself. When did I become this person? This perfectly curated version of what everyone expects. James sees me as this strong, independent woman, who has it all together. But what if I'm not that woman? What if I never was? I'm tired of being perfect. I'm tired of being strong. I'm just tired. That night, I sat in our kitchen until dawn, surrounded by photos from our early days together. Sarah, with messy hair and no makeup, laughing at something off camera. Sarah, in my old college sweatshirt, making pancakes on a Sunday morning. Sarah with the paint in her hair when we first moved in, proudly showing off the terrible job we did with the guest room. When did we stop taking pictures like that? When did we start posing instead of living? The revelation hit me like a thunderbolt at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, exactly so for 4 weeks after she left. I was sitting in her home office, the one room I'd avoided since she'd gone, surrounded by her perfectly organized files and color-coded calendars. A sticky note on her computer monitor caught my eye. Marketing pitch, be perfect. Be perfect. 2 words that summed up everything that had gone wrong. I'd fallen in love with a woman who snorted when she laughed too hard, who'd eat ice cream straight from the container at midnight, who'd dance badly to 80s music while doing the dishes. Somewhere along the way, she'd transformed into someone who scheduled her spontaneity and calculated her happiness in promotions and achievements. And I'd encouraged it. Every time I praised her professional success without noticing her personal struggles. Every time I gave her space instead of pulling her close. Every time I admired her strength without seeing she was breaking. I grabbed my phone and typed out a text. Remember when we got lost on that road trip to Vermont? You were wearing my old Ranger's hoodie, singing off-key to Journey, and you'd never been more beautiful. I miss that, Sarah. I miss us. My finger hovered over the send button. 4 weeks of silence, and this is what I choose to say. But something told me it was right. I pressed send. 17 minutes later, my phone buzzed. I miss her too. 3 words, but they were enough to crack the perfect facade we'd both been maintaining. I called her immediately, expecting voicemail. She answered on the first ring. I'm not the same person anymore, she whispered. Neither am I replied. Maybe that's okay. We talked until sunrise, about expectations. Hers, mine, everyone's. About how she'd tried so hard to be this flawless version of herself, that she'd lost all the beautiful flaws that made her real. About how I'd been so busy being the perfect, supportive husband that I'd forgotten to just be her partner. I'm scared, she admitted. What if I can't find my way back? Then we'll find a new way forward, I said. Together. She was quiet for so long I thought we'd lost the connection. Then, I need to see you. Now. Which brings us back to that rainy Sunday night, my wife on her knees on our doorstep, mascara running down her face. But now you understand, this isn't just about her coming home. This was about both of us finally seeing the truth, that real love isn't about being perfect. It's about being perfectly imperfect together. If this story made you think, hit that like button so more people can see it. Drop a comment. Have you ever regretted something you said in the heat of the moment? Let's talk. And if you want more stories that hit deep, subscribe and check out the next video. You won't want to miss it.